Okay, so we've just had our last short film session of today. That's day one. Let's move down the line, starting with Dayle at the side of me here. Tell us who you are and what your film was and what your involvement was with the film, please.
Yeah, sure. So, hi, I'm Dayle Saunders. My film was All Mother Where Art Thou. I am the director and writer for that one. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
That's
okay, cool.
You're good.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, so my name is Roberto Duque. My film is Voice Shift, and I am the writer, director, and one of the producers in the film. So.
Hello, I'm Tahiris, and I'm part of Voice Shift, and I'm one of the people interviewed during the documentary.
Hi, my name's Arnaldo. I'm the actor-producer of Sunburn.
Hello, my name is Iveta, and I'm the actress, writer, and producer of Sunburn.
Excellent. Right, okay, so a proper mixed bag we had in this session, which we like to do. We like to give people all kinds of everything. So I'm going to start in the reverse and work down this way. Talk to us about your project and the inception of the idea that caused you to make the film.
So Sunburn, it came from a dream, funny enough, and I felt like it was a very powerful dream because I went through a traumatic moment in my life, and when I had this said dream, it really uplifted my spirit, and I felt like it was something that I wanted to share with people. And Iveta came along and she decided to write a small piece. It was only 5 pages. And she did such a fantastic job in writing it that it just came together beautifully. Obviously, we had to change it from the dream. We couldn't do exactly the way it was. So yes, it was just a message that we wanted to send to the world.
Is it hard to fit a story into 5 pages with a message that is going to have some impact?
It is very hard. The shorter you go, the more you realize that you can't really have a story arc like a traditional film. So you get pocketed into basically sending a message. And we added the added difficulty of a tide that moves a lot, and we didn't really calculate that. So that made it more difficult, much more difficult than the 5 minutes.
Yeah. And Roberto, I mean, it's obvious why you made the story, but what led you to creating the short film?
Sure. So Voice Shift was commissioned as one of the winners of the listening pitch. So for those of you who don't know, the listening pitch is like a competition of fund by Audible and Aesthetica magazine. They do it every year, and it's to do with the theme of sound and listening. And so filmmakers from around the world can send in their ideas, and then you pitch it, and then if you're lucky, you win. So that's how that came about. But in terms of the concept, it's a friend of mine told me to apply for the listening pitch at the time, and when that application was open, that was when the Supreme Court ruling took place around April last year about the new legal definition of what a woman is, and I felt very strongly about that, and I felt like I really wanted to make something on that anyway, and it just happened to be that listening pitch was on, and I thought, well, is there a way we can make it work for that? So after doing some research and talking to people in the community, we realised that for some people the voice can be a big part of transitioning, so we thought we'd look at that, and before we look at the bigger picture as well here, with the Supreme Court ruling and other things happening across the world with policies and governments, that it felt like things were kind of moving backwards for the trans community and trans voices being silenced. So we kind of thought we'd combine those two elements and we pitched that, and then that's basically how the concept came to be.
It's interesting because I think it's a subject matter, in terms of the voice coaching, that I don't think anyone would ever really think about unless it somehow touched them, because I don't think, we work with Rogue outside, and it's never been a discussion, of all the many discussions we have about, trans life, it's never been that sort of discussion that we've had about the vocal side and how much of an impact that can have. So I think, first of all, thank you very much, because it's obviously it's a really interesting subject matter. Do you have anything you want to add on that?
I mean, all I would say is one of our contributors mentioned that voice is so much information comes from voice. You listen to a voice. You kind of on the phone, you instantly build a picture of what that person looks like, what their gender is, everything else. So, voice is a huge thing, and I think a lot of us take it for granted. And if someone is transitioning, a voice can be a big part of that. But I can only say so much. I mean, I don't know, Tahiris, do you want to say anything about?
Oh yes. Just to echo back what you're saying, voice is our sort of ticket once we're entering a space, and it can shift people's perception. It can shift people how much they're going to welcome you in, or how much have resistance, or how much familiarity they might feel with you, whether there is an accent, whether there's no accent, whether it's deep, whether it's not deep, and there's so much cultural differences on how voices can be different across the gender, compared on different cultures around the world. So, when I heard about this project, for me it was a beautiful project, especially for this reason, because voice is something very intimate, and yet is something that we often don't think about, because we just happen to build it out of survival, of course, and we end up having something that we didn't know it could have been anything else,
Dayle, come on, talk to us about where this came from. This is a hidden part of your life that you've wanted to unleash on us.
Kind of. So, I think I've got a bit of a reputation now for doing horror comedy, which is lovely because it's always fun, and there's still a lot of story you can tell with that, and meanings and things like that. And also, I just really like seeing a head explosion. It's always fun. But this one was much more of it was almost like let's trauma dump on everyone for the lols. So essentially it's kind of just it's not exactly biographical, but it's kind of this thing of if you don't have a parent, you'll find that people want to parent you. And so a lot of women in my life have been like, is that one me? And I'm like, no, Bernie, it's not. I don't consider you that way. But it'll be a lot of amalgamation of some people love to know what the trauma is. Some people want to give you hair jewellery for some reason. So that's where it came from. But it's supposed to be funny though. But thank God there was a lady at the back who was cracking up at every joke. So I was like, thank you so much. So it is. It's a bit more of a personal one, I suppose. But and no one dies in it, so I was pretty disappointed, really. So.
It's very unlike you, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, someone starts dead, I suppose, so that's quite nice. But if only we could see her get hit by the bus, that would have been nice.
You mentioned that you got some laughs out there, and a big thing that people don't think about when it comes to indie film, and specifically indie comedy, is one, how hard it is to make indie comedy, and two, it's the checking yourself when you're making the comedy, because when you've got a studio behind you, you've got all those checks and balances, and you've got focus groups and whatever else. What did you use to gauge the humour?
So, I think I'm hilarious, and but I laugh at my own jokes a lot, so that's okay. As long as I'm entertaining myself, I sort of joke about it. But yeah, what I did with this one was I basically ran it past my DP, and I said, this is my idea, will you do it? And thankfully he's also my partner, so he'll do whatever I ask him to. Although he's not anymore, because he's busy being talented. But yeah, so basically I ran across him, and he's a good gauge of humour because he's hilarious. And then I took it to my writer I work with a lot, who actually we've just done a project together, which is coming out soon. We'll be submitting, so keep an eye out. And then I said to him, Josh, his name is, I was like, is this funny? Does it have any legs? Like, is it worth going with and making into a film? And he was like, yeah, hell yeah. And so I said, like, okay, ramp it up to 11 then for me. And he didn't do tons of changes, but there was definitely like some collaboration in there. And honestly, I feel like the actors bring it out. So they, everyone's a kind of caricature, and they really I felt like they really grounded the characters, and even in the short time they had. So yeah, that's what we went with it, yeah. And it's more hard to, I think it's really difficult to do comedy and like put yourself out there. It's more exposing than like the sad bits, where it's like, it feels more exposing to be like, oh, did I make anyone laugh?
Yeah.
Then, oh, I can do my sad bit.
And I mean, if you think about it, you were sandwiched in amongst quite a lot of serious content.
Yeah.
You know, so
Which is fabulous content, by the way. But it's a very similar thing happened this morning when we had another film show. But I don't know, I guess it's a coping mechanism. And a lot of people say this now. It's like, oh, well, you know, we use this to cope with life now, and at least you can laugh at everything. But obviously it's got its place, and it's quite nice because maybe it's a bit of a palate cleanser, and then we go back into some deeper, subject matters and things like that. So you've had your laugh, now you're serious again. So get your head back on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it worked perfectly. So although I walked back in and was like absolutely in tears straight away watching yours. So yeah, harrowing.
Yeah. Speaking of which, how easy is it to, sorry, this is like a bit of a double barrel question. So it's, first of all, is how did you find your subjects? And how easy is it to get people to talk on camera? Because, you know, of those sort of people in the trans community are familiar with always being kind of shunned and etc. You know, like how easy is it to get people to talk on camera about their feelings and about how they feel, you know, in a film like this?
It actually initially wasn't very easy. Access for this was difficult, and understandably so. You know, it's a sensitive subject. It's a community that's obviously experiencing a lot right now, and always has. And there's a really great documentary out there called Disclosure. I don't know if anyone's seen it. It's a feature doc on Netflix, and it's about how the trans community has been portrayed in media over the last however long, you know, since media, forever, yeah. And I think what I took from that was that often the filmmakers for any kind of film or documentary where there's been trans subjects or characters or, you know, topics has often not been trans. And making this documentary, I thought, right, okay, well, we're in a situation now where I'm the filmmaker, I'm trying to tell this topic about a community. How can we, you know, help gain trust, and how can we try to avoid some of the mistakes that other previous, you know, films or projects have done? So we collaborated with an organisation called Trans on Screen, and they represent trans people behind and in front of the camera as well. And so what they did was they found some of our subjects or contributors, and on top of that they also found half of our crew. So half of our crew were from the community, from the trans community. Our DOP was, our camera assistant, our soundy. And I think, you know, we're turning a film about the trans voice. You know, you need voices not just in front, but behind the camera as well. And, you know, it's all about certain things like language, you know, certain things, how you do things, you know, having them there. They even gave us a toolkit as well, just for how to kind of work in those scenarios. And that was really helpful. That opened up a lot of doors. And I think just collaborating, partnering with that organisation just opened up the access. And, you know, they were not only there just during the shoots, they looked over trans on screen, that is, looked at our rough cut or our fine cut just to make sure it was fine. And they even spoke to all our contributors. Before filming and after filming, just to see how it went, you know, we felt it was important to do that, you know. So they've allowed us to come in and tell a subject about their community. Let's do what we can, you know. So don't know how you found it, but
with Trans on Screen, you mean?
yeah,
Amazing. I love Trans on Screen. Shout out to Elios, wherever Elios is right now. It's an amazing platform, especially how the industry tends to be extremely binary in terms of what they expect trans people to look like. A platform like Trans on Screen that allows for trans people, queer people, to cast themselves and say, this is what I want, and these are the projects I'm interested in. It's an amazing opportunity for our community, and God bless that there is something like that, because otherwise, like I speak from my personal experience. Like I work as an actor, and most of my work comes from platforms that are run by trans people, by queer people. And rarely it comes through the most ordinary channels of communication or castings, because the industry is extremely binary, once again. What was your question, Roberto?
well, I was just saying how you found just taking over your.
No, please do.
Well, just about how you found Trans on Screen and how you
Yeah,
found
amazing.
Is that how you two met?
Yeah,
Yeah, you got put together by Trans.
exactly. Yeah. So Trans on Screen recommended Tahiris and probably half of our contributors. So we're really glad we worked with them in the end. So.
That's really good. The Sunburn duo. How long did it actually take to shoot your film? Because in principle, when you look at it, you've got the scene on the beach, which you think to yourself, well, probably a lot of people would look at and think, actually, they probably could have done that in a day. But then you start looking at the traumatic event, and so which part took longer to shoot, and then what was the overall shoot time for the project?
So technically we filmed everything in one day, and actually less than a day, because of the mentioned tide. We kind of ran out of time and we had to take a break. So we had a long lunch break, hoping for the best, to get more beach time to film the rest of the film. So we technically did it in 6 hours, if I'm not mistaken, 6 to 8 hours. And then just the car crash scene, which was a couple of hours extra, just before the sun went down. So it was all shot in one day,
That's cool.
with, of course, everyone being hands-on and super helpful and collaborative. It was a big effort, but because we kind of had the whole community involved, and it was a community project from us to our people, and from our people to us as well. We all wanted to make it work, and because of the message that we're trying to send, that's why everyone was so passionate about it, and I think it helped massively. But of course, preparation was key, and still, like we mentioned before, we overestimated the tide in the UK, which is also something, you know, that we were laughing about, that no one really believes they were shot in the UK because it was a sunny day.
I'm going to ask you that afterwards.
Yeah. But we filmed in Broadstairs, so it's a beautiful, beautiful beach, and we were really lucky.
for those that are making sort of narrative features, how do you work on terms like rehearsals? Because it's a discussion that came up earlier on today, and I'm just interested. It's like not really something we've planned over the years. How important do you think rehearsal is in the process? Because with indie film, a lot of the time, it's like you turn up, you just literally shoot. This is, you know, this is your script, this is your direction, if you even get direction. So I guess for both of you guys, how important was rehearsal to you on this project or other projects?
Sorry, after you.
So in general, I would say rehearsals are necessary, especially if you don't have a big budget or any budget at all. Rehearsals are really key because, well, first of all, that's how you get to know each other and you learn how to work with one another. That saves time already. But also just knowing on the day what's going to happen, that's going to save you time. Because when we say if you don't have money, you have time, so use it wisely. So if you can rehearse as much as you can, that's going to help you massively, and it is important. In our scenario, we didn't do rehearsing too much. Oh, but we did have one day. Yes.
At the park.
Yes, because we had to practice volleyball. That was the cue. Only very few of us actually knew how to play
I could
it.
tell.
But we had fun. So.
Yeah. Lots of fun.
Sorry.
No, that's it.
No,
I'm done,
complete agreement. But we didn't rehearse for that one, although we did do at least a read through, and I found that really, really handy, especially so many cast in there as well. I did a lot of prep of like, what do we want from these characters, and you know, what's the backstory to them, what could they be doing and feeling, and you know, physically could they be holding things, etc. We just did a film that we have now finished. That's the one coming to you next, hopefully. And that one, I had my two main cast come to my house and do kind of like a read through, but like get it on its feet kind of thing, because it has like a vibe of like it's almost like a theatre-y type. In that there was a space and they walked through the space and things like that. Anyway, all this to say is like getting it on its feet and getting those two people with me, and I filmed it as well just on my phone. And ironically, I didn't press record, as you do. That's what you need your DP for. And even showing my first that and showing my DP that, it was amazing, because then I could say, okay, so when she's doing this and when she's doing that's really what I want to go with. And I storyboarded it from that and things like that. So yeah, it's so key, but obviously it's everything in this is a luxury. So if you can get some time with them, brilliant. If not, just a little read through on Zoom or something, I think really helps, or whatever your video platform of choice is.
Yeah.
So so great question though. Great question.
Slightly controversial.
Go on.
Your cast,
Yes.
did you know any of them ahead of
I don't know what the wrong or right answer is. It? What's the controversial
I'm just
one?
trying to drop you in the shirt.
That's fair. That's fair.
Did you know any of them ahead of the shoot, and did any of their actual character traits
That's
come
a good
through
question.
in that
So
depiction?
yeah, I mean, like for example, our singer, who's Evie, in real life she's Bolly Witch, actually a trans artist, we were just talking about this. We were making music videos for her. She's like funded her own album and music videos and everything. So we were working with her anyway, and I was like, will you be in this? Like, I really think you'd be great in it. And we wrote a part for her, and she's such a singer, obviously, that I was like, okay, there we go, perfect. But then otherwise, they weren't really the characters. But we did auditions. About half of the people I knew beforehand, and placed them where we thought would be appropriate, and then about half were new people I'd not worked with before, but I'll work with all of them again. But yeah, nobody really I didn't really look at anyone and go, yeah, you're that freak. But they definitely brought it to life, yeah. Can you imagine? question. Yeah, I mean, even actually the two of the women, the woman at the beginning who's the narcissist, who's like crying, and the woman who makes the hair jewellery, those two women are in the next one. So, yeah, so nothing like their characters in that one, but I love that question. Yeah, especially even like our witchy one. Like, she came with her own Ouija board, nobody asked her to bring that, so. Just joking.
Roberto, if you can continue the story to help the trans community, what would your next chapter be? What would the next part of this journey be?
I think it's an evolving topic. You know, it was only yesterday that the end card of the film had about the EHRC submitting this guidance following the Supreme Court. It was only yesterday that the government published the guidance. And from what I understand, it's not looking great. You know, it's going in the direction where trans people could be barred from going into single-sex spaces. So whether it's exploring that, whether it's exploring voice. I mean, interestingly, like when we approached this, we really wanted to kind of look at the voice training, you know, and see how, you know, maybe see how that evolves. And obviously it's in the film. It's called Voice Shift, but it was quite interesting because it's when we sat down with everyone and we did those lived experience interviews that I had a feeling it would be emotional, but I didn't expect it to be that emotional.
Yeah.
You know, it really, you know, and the interviews weren't even that long, you know, and it was very powerful moments, and it just goes to show you the impact that all these things are having on the community. And I think if we were to continue the topic or make a longer version or a second part, it would be nice to do more on the voice training, I think, maybe, see where that went, maybe continue the lessons, perhaps. But, you know, you can do all that, but you can't ignore what's the bigger picture here. And that's something that seems to, it's always there.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it's going, but yeah. Right.
Nowhere particularly good right now, and that's the difficult part, isn't it? It's like you take one step forward and then you take 5 steps back. Let's give our audience the opportunity to ask any questions if they have any. Do we have any questions out there?
So we have to make films about it.
Okay, go on, Catherine.
Hello. So my question is around the documentary, but you mentioned there was an organisation that you worked with to find participants. So you were involved with the organisation already?
Sorry.
So I can't remember the name of the organisation.
Trans on Screen.
So are you involved with Trans on Screen?
I am somebody that is on the platform, Trans on Screen. Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask, because you're involved with the film because of that organisation.
Yes.
And has there been anything else that you've worked on through Trans on Screen?
Absolutely, yes.
What kind of things have you worked on elsewhere?
Well, there's been a student movie that I've been part of, and it was about this person that was falling in love with herself the second that she was going to transition, and then that was a student movie, and then they worked with this technique between splitting the frame into the previous version of myself pre-transition and after the transition. There was a student movie. There was another theatre show that I've been part of called Body on Board, again another trans collective that put together a story about Caribbean storytelling mixed with Scottish storytelling, because there are the people that are part of the show are a couple, and now it's going on October. There's going to be another performance at the Grimfest, and I'm going to do that again. And then there's been a couple of collectives that called me over to do my spoken poetry, because I write as well, and that has been part of Sensory Collective, which was a nightclub night that happened some months ago, and it's going to happen again in a couple of months. So yes, through Trans on Screen I've been getting lots of work, and that's because if you have the eyes to see somebody's richness, then you are going to want that person. And for so long I felt like, oh my god, there's something wrong with me. I'm not casting myself in the best way possible. I have to redefine my casting. None of that. None of that. There is richness as somebody trans, or even as a human being in general. There's richness in your casting. There's not much that you have to do. Is about, is the person on the other side have the eyes to actually see that richness? And if there are people that come from that lived experience or are interested, for example, Roberto, in that rich lived experience, then there you go.
With that level of trust that you spoke about earlier on, was that the key thing that made you trust Roberto to be a part of this documentary, or was it just the organisation's involvement?
It was both. It was
Okay.
both. I was contacted by Roberto because he saw me on Transfer Screen, but then I had the possibility to have a meeting with Roberto on Zoom. So we had a talk. We talked about what the documentary was going to be like. We got a sense of each other, and for me, working in front of the camera, or working in any kind of artistic scenario, it's always a collaboration. Long are the days since where people are taking things from me, where I'm not feeling like there's a real exchange. And I felt like I like this. I feel like there is a good exchange. I feel like there is a collaboration happening, and that's why I accepted this project.
Thank you.
Any other questions out there? No? Okay, so... Oh, sorry.
Good. Curb stop.
Yeah, good evening. Good night, almost getting late, isn't it? Sunburn, very good. Must ask, was the story of that from personal experience? Because it seemed very, to me, I was drawn right into it. It seemed quite deep, and you seem to cover all the angles there, and it seemed like that was almost a personal. That ain't something you make up. I mean, this is a serious message, isn't it? So, you know, where did you draw your inspiration from to get the story for that?
So Sunburn, like I mentioned before, it was a dream. In the dream, the girl does walk behind me and says, "You've been traumatized," specifically. So we decided to keep that in. Some people said, "Oh, that's too on the nose," but we liked it because it got to the point, and it's a 6-minute short, so we thought that we would keep that in. So I have had a traumatic moment in my life, but this particular story, it wasn't about that. It was just about being okay with it and healing, which is a very tricky thing because trauma varies from whatever happened to that person. So it's just a message of hope. Yeah, hope that answers your question.
But if I can also add, it was kind of the conversation that we had when Arnaldo told me about his dream, and those stories and conversations we had, just to be able to relate that most of the time we all experience something. Sometimes it can be just a bad experience, but we get that trauma, whether it's childhood trauma, generational trauma, or other kind of things that happen to you in life and they affect you. And it was kind of like it started off with that conversation, and the more we were kind of going out and talking to other people, there was always something that someone had, and it was always really hard to open up and to tell someone, oh, I don't feel okay because of this, or something is inside me and I feel less worthy or less good enough. But then the moment you say it out loud and someone responds to it, it's like a mutual comforting feeling. And we kind of also agreed, with the idea that we wanted to send that hope and to allow people to also, recognize themselves in this film, to understand that they're not alone and it's okay to feel that way. It takes time, but you can get better. You need to look after yourself, of course, but it is a feeling that happens to most of people, everyone, just on different levels, and to find someone to talk about it, whether it's yourself, your relative, or a stranger even on the street, as long as you can share it and feel heard, I think it makes a difference.
Excellent. Any other questions? So we will wrap up here. I would just like to thank each and every one of you for bringing us your wonderful films. Thank you for making the films, and we look forward to seeing what's next for you all. Thank you ever so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.